Now in today's video, we're going to take a look at my top transfer targets ahead of FPL Game Week 12. Of course, run through all the predicted data over the next few weeks as well, and hopefully identify your key players you want to be looking to bring in ahead of this game week. Now, as always, before you dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We managed to hit 21,000 subscribers the other day on the channel. I'm extremely grateful for all the support you've showed this season. Let's see if we can make that count and, of course, hit the milestone of 25k by the end of the year. It would be absolutely impeccable. And as you can probably hear from my voice, I'm still not 100%. However, I'm feeling a little bit better. Decided, we want to put on a video for you guys, get some players out there, give you some data, and that is what we are going to run through in today's video. So for me, slogging through definitely deserves a little bit of a like. As you can see on screen right now, we do have the projected data for the next 6 game weeks, of course, coming from 1105. If you want to go and check out their website for yourself, I will leave a link in the description of today's video so you can go and look at their amazing data available on their website. First up, we're going to take a look at the projected clean sheets then over the next 6 game weeks. As you can see here, Arsenal still looking absolutely fantastic in terms of their projected numbers. Despite obviously some more difficult fixtures coming up over the next few weeks, they are still the kind of most fancied side in terms of the number of clean sheets over that period, which for me just suggests that, maybe that Sunderland game was a little bit of a blip. They still managed to concede under one expected goal. So they're still a pretty good defense. Don't judge them off one kind of game. They're still going to keep plenty of clean sheets. They've still got some great projections coming up. Don't all of a sudden be looking to flog, some of your additional Arsenal players. I think, Gabriel, a very easy sell. But if you've got a Raya or a Timber or a Saliba, they're still not a sell for me this week. They've still got some great fixtures and some great projections coming up. I definitely wouldn't be looking to offload any of those guys. We're also seeing a turn in projections for Liverpool over the next few weeks. Some really good numbers from around game week 12 all the way up until game week 15. So I think Virgil van Dijk is a player that we are going to talk about in a little bit more detail, but he definitely could be one that a lot of people are, of course, looking at. Chelsea have got obviously some good fixtures in game week 12 and game week 14, really highlighting, of course, their projected numbers for the next few weeks. I think if you've got a Bournemouth defender, for example, a lot of us still have Senesi and are potentially looking to get rid of him this week. Well, I am seeing some pretty good numbers from 12 to 14 here. And if you could bench him in 15 and 16, you also get a pretty good 46% chance of a clean sheet in game week 17. So it would suggest maybe holding on to somebody like a Senesi could still be pretty decent value over the next few weeks. We're seeing a bit of a drop-off in terms of Newcastle's numbers recently as well. Pope potentially being concussed for this game week as well. A difficult fixture up against Manchester City. I think a lot of people who have Dan Burn are, of course, probably going to be looking to offload him, and that makes complete sense with, of course, a drop-off in the next few weeks. Palace's fixtures are good for the next 3, I would say. After that, around game week 15, game week 16, is personally for me where I would be looking to get rid of as many Crystal Palace assets as possible. They've got a lot of games coming up with, of course, the Carabao and the Europa Conference League. They've also got that midweek Premier League round in game week 14 as well. There is going to be some rotation at some point within that Palace defence. So for me, I probably would be looking to offload some of my assets over the next few weeks. In terms of teams you probably want to be avoiding, obviously, we know about Wolves, we know about Leeds, we know about West Ham. They're just not good defences that, for me personally, I would be looking to give any time for. I think with my Spurs assets as well, there's some really difficult games coming up. If you've, of course, been holding on to Van de Ven, hoping that he's going to produce another fantastic mega haul, I would be a little bit sceptical. I probably would look to sell him with, of course, some low projected numbers coming up over the next few weeks. Let's move on then. Let's take a look at the projected goals then. Again, coming from 11ify, we're seeing Liverpool top the numbers over the next few weeks, and so many of us are going to be trying to find the perfect Liverpool asset during that time period. Now, for me, I don't think there is any perfect attacker within Liverpool's side. They've all got pros and cons to their games, as we'll talk about in more detail in today's video. However, I think the big one that a lot of people might be able to get to with the free hit chip over the next few weeks could be Mohamed Salah. So maybe a game week 12 free hit might be potentially in the cards. As you can see, a little bit of a drop in terms of Manchester City's numbers up against Newcastle. And Haaland's only scored 1 goal against the Magpies as well. That was a back 22-23 season. You've also got to look at Newcastle's home record over the past 3 seasons is up there. It's definitely, top four material home form that they are putting up, especially under Eddie Howe. So I think that is going to be a really difficult game for Manchester City. So maybe a free hit in 12, including Mohamed Salah, with of course Liverpool having a great fixture up against Nottingham Forest, some good projected data. That could be maybe a week where you do go for, or game week 14, as you can see, the highest projected goals on this list out of every other side. So maybe that could be, again, like I said, another week where you might want to look at a potential free hit, or of course just trying to look to get Salah in for those difficult weeks. The other Liverpool attackers for me do have a lot of rotation, and what we're seeing with City and Haaland as well is a good week, a bad week, a good week, a bad week. However, I don't still believe he's a sell. Like, Haaland is just in that insane form right now where he looks honestly just unbelievable. So I don't think he's going to be a sell for me personally. Arsenal have got some more trickier games coming up. However, I still believe Saka is a good pick. Same with your Chelsea boys. Definitely worth holding on to this week. Your Enzos, your João Pedros. They've got a great fixture, 2.15 projected goals. Keep them for this week. Game week 13, you either free hit or look to move them on for other alternative assets. We're seeing some pretty steady numbers for Brighton as well. So your Minters, your Welbecks could also be pretty steady pickups over the next few weeks. Bournemouth as well, like I spoke about, correlates with their clean sheet numbers. They've actually got some pretty decent attacking numbers as well. So maybe Anton Semenyo could be a player that, of course, you do look to keep over that time period. We're seeing some obviously steady numbers for Crystal Palace over the next 3 weeks. Again, very similar to what I said with the defensive side. You probably want to look to offload them around game week 15, 16, when, of course, the fixture congestion gets a little bit unreal. Manchester United as well also have some pretty steady fixtures across the next few weeks. So I do believe, obviously, your Mbuemos, your Bruno Fernandez's are all going to be absolutely exceptional pickups during that time period. Like I said, this is the 11FI data. If you want to go and check it out for yourself, I will leave a link in the description. But let's move on to some individual player picks. Okay, so two teams I did identify with the 11FI data was Manchester United and Liverpool, with some great fixtures coming up over the next few weeks. So I thought I would talk about some of my favourite pickups from both of these sides, as I do think a lot of people are, of course, going to be looking to invest into them. Let's start off first then with Manchester United. As you can see, Bryan Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes, for me, are going to be the top two picks from this club. The other options that I have heard mentioned are going to be Ahmad and Cunha. Ahmad, someone rightfully pointed out in my comment section yesterday, is going to be a player that will be heading off to AFCON, very similar with Bryan Mbeumo. He is also currently playing wing-back, and I wouldn't want to obviously use one of my midfield spots up to go and bring in a wing-back for me, in my personal opinion. And like I said, there are just plenty of better Manchester United pickups that, of course, you can go for. Bryan Mbeumo currently finds himself third for expected non-penalty expected goal involvement in the league, only behind, of course, Erling Haaland and Jean-Philippe Mateta. His numbers look absolutely outrageous. The fixtures before he heads off to AFCON as well, as you can see on screen, are looking really, really good. So I do think Bryan Mbeumo at 8.5 is going to be a very good pickup, a player that I am really considering potentially going for within my own side as well. Like I said, he's just, when you watch Manchester United, he is the guy that passes the eye test and looks really, really good. And the data and the points that he's picked up so far are really showing and determining that. Someone that probably doesn't pass the eye test when you watch games of Manchester United is Bruno Fernandes. However, from an FPL perspective, I do believe he is my preferred asset. Doesn't go off to AFCON, so you don't, of course, have to use a transfer on him in future weeks. He also has multiple avenues to points. I've spoke about this in a lot of videos so far this season, and I'm a big fan of players that have those multiple avenues to points. Not just the guys that get the goals, but the guys that have set piece share, the guys that have penalties, the guys that have great baseline bonus, or of course can hit those pesky defensive contributions. Bruno Fernandes has that within his locker. So for me, it's just an exceptionally great pickup at 8.9 million. Obviously, when Bryan Mbeumo does head off to AFCON as well, we might potentially see a change in position for Bruno Fernandes. He might be a little bit further forward, but I think this season so far, he has been extremely unlucky. Of course, he's had the 2 penalty misses. He's had a few games where he's hit 11 defensive contributions rather than the required 12. He's also hit the post and the bar already this season as well. I do feel like Bruno Fernandes at some point this year is going to have a pretty decent mega haul. And like I said, the fixtures coming up are very, very very decent. Their probably most difficult fixture here is going to be Crystal Palace. However, that falls after, of course, a European round for Crystal Palace. It then also falls in between a Premier League round, a game week 14 obviously being that midweek Premier League round. So Palace are going to pretty much have a lot of fixtures during that period, one extra game compared to Manchester United. So you would imagine that they're going to be a lot fitter, probably play them off the park as well. Cunha is probably the interesting asset. If Sesko is out injured, it probably means that he's going to be playing as the number 9. And I do think we'll probably take more of a focal point when, of course, Bryan Mbeumo leaves this club. And I do believe he will start to actually put in some decent attacking returns. So he is a player that I've very much got my eye on at the moment. Obviously, the two standout picks are Bryan Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes. Both of these guys, for me, real good players that you definitely should be looking to pick up within your side. However, Cunha could be that nice differential once Bryan, of course, does disappear to the African Cup of Nations. But right now, if you're looking for a Manchester United asset, I would personally not look any further than Bryan Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes. Let's move on then to the red club in Liverpool. It's going to be Liverpool. There we go. Yeah, got there in the end. These are the 4 players that, of course, I am potentially considering from Liverpool. We've got Mohamed Salah, Szoboszlai, Konate, and Virgil van Dijk. Outside of these players, like I said, there's just too much rotation. An Ekitike, a Gakpo. There's just so much rotation there. I wouldn't want to pick them, especially heading into a busy festive period. Salah, the big problem with him, of course, is his price. For 14.2 million, he's not justifying it. In terms of the points per start, as you can see here, 5.2. Bryan Mbeumo is putting up 5.2 and is at 8.5 million. Salah's at 14.2. He is nowhere near the same Salah we saw in the last season. He's, of course, not putting up anywhere near the same amount of numbers or, of course, points to make him worthy of a 14.2 million price tag. And when you've got Erling Haaland just absolutely slamming in goals every single week as well, he's not even justifying himself as a potential captaincy pick. Now, the fixtures definitely, like I said, as we saw with the 11ified data, are there. He's going to have some great opportunities to do some big scores over this time period. However, would I be looking to rip apart my team to go and get Mohamed Salah in? Right now, no. Give me an Mbeumo, give me a Saka, give me a Bruno Fernandes over a Mohamed Salah right now. He's just not the same guy he was. He's not justifying the price point. And like I said, if you really want to go and get him for one of these standout fixtures, I think the more optimal play will be to use your free hit rather than bring him in with transfers. I'm also not a big fan of Dominic Szoboszlai. Only 2 goal involvements for him. One of the goals was that absolutely wonderful free kick that he scored against Arsenal. He's also been picking up defensive contributions, which people are going to point to and go, well, you like players with multiple avenues to points. I do, a 40% chance. However, those, of course, have came when he features at right back. I don't want my 6.6 million midfielder to be playing right back at any point when I have selected them as a pick. So again, not a great pick. He's also on 4 yellow cards. That means if he picks up one more, he is going to miss a game with a 1-game ban. So why would you give yourself that headache? There are plenty of better other midfield options that, of course, you can go and get to with better underlying data and, of course, that don't have 4 yellow cards either. Now, defensively, Konate and Van Dijk actually really do interest me as picks. As you can see, both of these guys' defensive contributions per start are actually pretty good. 50 and 60%, very good. Very close in terms of point scoring as well. The downside, I would say, of probably selecting Liverpool defenders is their expected goals conceded so far hasn't been great, and they've also not really been a threat from set plays. Their expected goals from set plays is actually quite low compared to a lot of the other Premier League teams and haven't really shifted with, of course, that change in mentality that we are seeing from so many sides. So I do think, Van Dijk could be a great defender. There's plenty of opportunities for clean sheets, as we saw with the 11ified data. He's got those defensive contribution abilities, but I am there also going, well, Liverpool haven't been great defensively. Is that going to change all of a sudden? Probably not. I still think they're a pretty wobbly defense. So yeah, do I want to, again, justify spending 5.9? Probably not. I think if you've maybe got like a Tarkowski and you've got that little bit of extra money in the bank, then of course it does make complete sense to make that easy switch from Tarkowski to Van Dijk. However, for example, if I've got an Arsenal defender like a Timber or Saliba, I don't think I would swap them for Virgil van Dijk right now. We saw with the 11ified numbers, they're still absolutely exceptionally good for Arsenal over the next few weeks. So I don't really see the main appeal of making that switch. Let me know what you think of that down in the comments section, and let's move on to some more players in today's video. Now, before we take a look at any other players, of course, if you need some advice with your team over the international break, make sure you are checking out my new and exclusive FPL Discord server, joined with Golden Goal Fantasy Football, another very good YouTuber within the community. We're currently running a 30-day free trial for you to become and test out our Discord server, see what the podcast has got to offer, and of course, enter our prize mini league. So what are you waiting for? Like I said, 30 days completely free. Get yourself in the Discord server and come and say hello. There's lots of people already in there. It's a great community asking plenty of very good questions. Let's move on then. Let's take a look at some players that I'm going to recommend for you guys to potentially look at bringing in this game week. Up first is going to be Thiago from Brentford. I've done a lot of analysis on Brentford and penalties over the past few days. If you've been in the Discord server, again, another reason to come in there. I've been doing so much analysis on penalties, which teams are winning penalties, which teams are conceding a lot of penalties, and you will be surprised to learn that Brentford, a side that are very good with data, know how to win a lot of penalties and also know how to stop conceding them. Real shock, that one. If you think as well, cast your minds back, think of all the penalty takers that they've had in recent years. Tony and Buemo and now Thiago. All these guys get plenty of opportunities from this penalty spot. They know how to win penalties. So selecting their penalty taker with some good fixtures coming up, a guy that is scoring in open play as well with some good underlying data, makes complete sense to me. If you are in the market for a forward this week, I genuinely do believe that Thiago would be my top pick to go for. He feels like an amazing value pickup at 6.3 million. Like I said, playing for a side that are winning a lot of penalties, not over just the course of one season, but multiple seasons. They know how to win them. He's got some great fixtures with the Burnley, Leeds, and Wolves games all being at home. And he's also got good underlying data to go with that, suggesting that, you know, this is going to be a trend that is going to keep continuing. You've also got him scoring in open play as well. So I do believe Thiago at 6.3 million is probably my favourite second striker outside of Erling Haaland within the game right now. He's also second best scoring forward within the game right now as well. I do feel like he is going to be a player that a lot of people are, of course, going to be shifting towards over the next few weeks when, of course, Crystal Palace's fixtures get a little bit more difficult. Probably looking around that game week 15 period, I think could be an absolutely exceptional time where a lot of people do, of course, shift off away from Mateta and head into Leeds and Wolves coming up for Brentford. Like I said, this is a side that knows how to win penalties, so having their penalty taker makes complete sense from an FPL perspective for me. Let's take a look then at my final player ahead of game week 12, and it's going to be an interesting one, and it's probably going to take a little bit of time to potentially bear with me. It's Morgan Rogers. Now, the data so far this season has been pretty poor, right? But Rodgers' data has never been exceptional, right? Even last year when he was consistently scoring great points across the season, his data was never amazing. It was always like, I remember, like 0.35 XGI per game. Like, it wasn't anything to really write home about, okay? But he kept delivering the goods. He started to get himself back in terms of the attacking returns in recent weeks as well. And as you can see on screen, Villa actually have some pretty good games coming up. Leeds, Wolves, Brighton, West Ham, Manchester United, all defences that I really think you can get at. Obviously, Wolves conceded the most goals so far in the Premier League. West Ham are right down there for expected goals conceded, as are Manchester United. And Leeds and Brighton aren't any real fierce defences that I would be concerned about playing any of my attackers in. So I do think maybe we've got to look at Aston Villa players over the next few weeks because there are some great fixtures here. However, I feel like a lot of us have been burned earlier in the season with Watkins, Rodgers. I went with Tielemans. Like, a lot of us have been burnt with Aston Villa picks, right? And the data still isn't looking anything exceptional. Their best player for non-penalty XGI so far this season is Ollie Watkins with 2.37. It's just not good enough. However, Aston Villa have definitely turned a corner in recent weeks. They've got some great fixtures coming up, and I do think it may be worth monitoring some of their potential pickups over the next few weeks. I don't think Watkins is going to be the guy, but maybe Morgan Rogers. His price has come down a little bit to 6.8. Maybe if he impresses really well in that Leeds game, he could be an option that I could see a lot of people potentially moving towards over the next few weeks. Well, it's not one I probably would go for, but like I said, one to maybe keep an eye on for right now. Of course, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you are liking, hitting that subscribe button, getting any dilemmas you've got in the comments, and making sure you're heading over to the FPL Cartel Discord to, of course, get your team reviewed by me. Thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in Game Week 12.